Dillian Whyte says that Luis Ortiz is not better than Dereck Chisora or Joseph Parker, two guys that he faced. And he says he would swing on Deontay Wilder. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using the link. It does help the channel. Let's jump right into it. Link in the description. There's an interview with Dillian Whyte, and he's in Saudi Arabia on the fight card. Joshua Ruiz, Joshua 2 in Saudi Arabia. And really a weird interview. Dillian Whyte, he's kind of turned up, you know. He was saying a lot of different things, and I just want to paraphrase some of the things. I'm not going to read direct quotes, but link in the description in case you want to watch it. First of all, the thing I noticed is Dillian Whyte, Eddie Hearn got to do a better job of giving opponents and the fighter, the mainstay fighter and their opponents better notice to be on these DAZN cards. Like Devin Haney, his fight got announced on the Canelo Kovalev card, and he was fighting the next week on the KSI Logan Paul card, right? You know, you looked at other situations where some of it happened, failed drug tests and stuff like Usyk. Chaz Tablespoon, he had 2 days to train and stuff like that. And then same thing with Dillian Whyte. He said he's been training for a week, and if you look at it, he looks bigger than normal. And I know he's been on a bit of a layoff and had some stuff going on with the B samples and all that, and failed drug tests. So maybe he just packed up weight, but he looks a lot bigger than normal in this interview. But anyway, some of the stuff he was saying, he said that fighter, it was a weird interview to me. He's talking to Radio Raheem, and he's saying, man, we're the last generation of like real good fighters, and people got to stop hating, and they're hating on people, and I don't understand it. And the thing is, just to be 100% frank, I feel like Dillian Whyte has been hating on Wilder, and then in this interview, I think he was hating on Luis Ortiz with what he was saying in his statements, which I totally disagree with most of what he was saying in regards to that. So it was kind of an interesting picture that he was saying, people are haters and just hating on other people. And then he says he doesn't have problems with AJ and Wilder on a personal level, but he has problems with Wilder's because what he's done to him in boxing. So boxer to boxer, he hates him. Boxer to boxer, he hates Anthony Joshua. And he was asked about Wilder's performance. He said Wilder was losing, and then he has this impressive one-punch knockout with Luis Ortiz. And then Dillian Whyte started going in on Luis Ortiz, saying, who is Luis Ortiz? Luis Ortiz ain't beat nobody. And he said that Luis Ortiz ain't even better than Joseph Parker, and he's not better than Joseph Parker or Dereck Chisora, which I disagree with. And then he tried to ask the host, he said, name 4 people that Luis Ortiz has fought. He said, okay, he fought Wilder twice. Who else he fought? And then, the host is asking the question, so he didn't partake in the quiz. But to me, I thought that was I would have asked, if I did the interview, I definitely would have rebutted, because you look at Luis Ortiz, who else does he beat? He beat Dave Allen, a guy that Dillian Whyte fought and beat. But Dave Allen versus Dillian Whyte, Dave Allen was stopped by Luis Ortiz in the UK. So that's one person. So how does Dillian Whyte get credit for going 10 rounds with Dave Allen, a younger, Dave Allen who had like 10 fights, and then Ortiz knocked out Dave Allen, who had more experience, right? And he knocked him out in the UK. So that's one person. You look at Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings, in my opinion, just beat Joe Joyce, and he's in Joshua's camp preparing him for the Ruiz rematch. So obviously we know Brian Jennings is a quality guy, and Brian Jennings actually stopped Artur Szpilka before Wilder. So that's a guy, and that's a guy who Dereck Chisora later fought. So, the great thing with new media is no matter if you know boxing, it's easy to see what people are saying, if it's true or false. So Dereck Chisora just recently knocked out Szpilka. Wilder knocked out Szpilka, and even before, and he got knocked out, I think, at cruiserweight after Wilder. Like, he hadn't been the same since the Wilder fight. But even before Wilder, Bryant Jennings did it. And that's a guy that Luis Ortiz knocked out. Klitschko didn't even knock out Bryant Jennings. And that was Jennings' only loss. And then later, after being knocked out by Luis Ortiz and being knocked out by Oscar Rivas, a fight that he was winning up until the 12th round, basically, who also fought Dillian Whyte after, Bryant Jennings, I thought, came back and beat Joe Joyce. And then, this is probably why Joshua put him in the camp, because he's is a good fighter, right? So what Dillian Whyte saying about Luis Ortiz really doesn't make sense. I've already told you, using the heavyweight division's only but so big, right? Luis Ortiz, he also fought, he says Joseph Parker's better than Luis Ortiz, right? But I was at Luis Ortiz's fight after Parker had already fought Raz Cujanu. Luis Ortiz fought him, and it was on the Mikey Garcia Robert Easter card at the Staples Center, and I was there, right? Luis Ortiz knocked this man out, Raz Cujanu, in 2 rounds. I think it was 2 rounds. It was real quick, and he knocked him out. Meanwhile, Joseph Parker, when he was champion, fought Raz Cujanu, right? And he struggled with him, and it went the distance. So that's yet another person that Luis Ortiz has fought that's in this common circle, where Luis Ortiz got the victory and then stopped the guy and or look better, or whatever you want to call it. So that's another. And then Daniel Dubois, another UK guy, fought Raz Cujanu and stopped him also, but it was after Luis Ortiz had done it. So, it's funny that Dillian Whyte was talking about, like, hating and people are hating, but what he's saying is not making sense about Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz has more amateur fights than probably Joshua and AJ combined, maybe even Wilder. 400, 500 amateurs. He's a good fighter. So no matter how you slice that, that's just what the case is, and most people beat it. And I got 2 other things to say regarding Luis Ortiz. Another thing that he said regarding Luis Ortiz, so I just explained why I don't agree with Joseph Parker is way better than Luis Ortiz, or like Joshua ducked Luis Ortiz. Joseph Parker fought him, and it was pretty competitive, to be honest. The referee was the biggest issue. The referee wouldn't let Joseph Parker work, right? So I don't agree with the Dereck Chisora, Joseph Parker is way better than Luis Ortiz comment to begin with. But beyond that, another thing he says is, hey, why did Luis Ortiz, he came in all this bad shape, and he got in real good shape and lost weight. And he said Luis Ortiz did better in the first fight than he did in the second fight, which, again, this is absolutely false. In the first fight, how did he do better? Yeah, he hurt Wilder, visibly in the 7th round, but he was also dropped in the 5th round. Wilder won some of the early rounds, and then he got dropped in the 5th round. Meanwhile, in the rematch, which I was there, I was at the fight live, Luis Ortiz had won 6 rounds straight, as Radio Raheem said, and I think a lot of people can attest and agree to that. And then he was well on his way to winning that 7th round, and then he got knocked out with 1 punch by Wilder after the 10-second clapper. So in all actuality, even though he lost the 7th round, he basically won 6 rounds and 95% of the 7th round. But Wilder has this one-time immaculate power, and boom, it was lights out. So there's no way Luis Ortiz looked better in the first fight. Yeah, he hurt him, but he didn't put up those numbers that he did in the second fight. In the second fight, he skunked Wilder. The first fight, Wilder drew first blood and actually hurt him visibly and knocked him down, which is a 10-8 round, in round 5. So to me, none of what Dillian Whyte is saying is making sense. The last thing that is what everyone's talking about, the B sample and the drugs test fail. He says he was being asked good questions about, okay, you're fighting over here, but you're not cleared to fight in the UK. And he was like, yeah, I could fight in the UK. And he's saying he could fight in the UK, and he's not banned from the UK. And the British Board of Control, or BBBOC, allowed him to fight in Saudi Arabia, and his license is good, and he can fight in the UK. But he says he can't really explain it. So, it sounds weird. It sounds weird whatever UCAD's doing in the UK, and he's saying he could have fought in the UK, but Eddie Hearn didn't give him no fights. The Rivas fight was in the summer, and Eddie Hearn didn't give him no fights up until December, and he does it in another country. But Dillian Whyte saying he can't talk about it, but he's saying he's good to fight wherever. So that doesn't really add up to me, because why didn't he come back on the previous card? You know? But nonetheless, I don't agree with what he's saying with Luis Ortiz. And beyond that, if Luis Ortiz, I was at the post-fight press conference. Luis Ortiz and team and his coach, Jay, made it explicitly clear. We lost to Wilder, great fighter. If anybody thinks it's sweet, then jump in the ring with Luis. That's it. So we already know Dillian Whyte got told by the WBC to do a final eliminator with Luis Ortiz, and he didn't do it. Right? Dillian Whyte got told by Wilder, hey, okay, you on my back trying to breathe down my throat. Luis Ortiz is real. This is in between the second fight, before the second fight with Wilder and Ortiz happened, and after the first fight happened. Wilder's on record, I think it's on Fight Hub, you guys can Google this. Wilder said to Dillian Whyte, fight Luis Ortiz, beat him, then call me. I'll make sure it happens that you get the next, you get the opportunity to fight me, because Luis Ortiz is real, prove your merit, and he didn't do it. Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn thought he had the power, and he was trying to tell Wilder to build his UK profile by fighting Dillian Whyte. So that's basically the reality of what should have happened, is what Wilder said. I'm the champion. I fought this guy and I can vouch for him. Get a name like that on your resume and build interest with the fans, and then you can fight me in America and let's get it popping. I'll make sure it happens. And again, he did not do that. So it's crazy that Luis Ortiz said he'll go to the UK. Dillian Whyte didn't fight him. Wilder was telling him to fight Luis Ortiz and you get a guaranteed shot with me. WBC says beat Luis Ortiz, you'll win a final eliminator, get a guaranteed shot at Wilder. And basically Luis Ortiz was down and Dillian Whyte's side wasn't, because Dillian Whyte's side never obliged or never looked into it and never made it happen. Instead, they fought a guy that they had already beaten in Dereck Chisora. Now you have Dillian Whyte saying Chisora and Joseph Parker are far better than Luis Ortiz. It just, I've already broken it down in this video. It doesn't really sound believable. And it seems like there's this UK camaraderie where they just play by like a code and they're just saying whatever, Okay, Dereck Chisora, he's better than Luis Ortiz, but what are we basing it off of? Dereck Chisora had more losses when Dillian Whyte fought him than Luis Ortiz has to this day. And again, Luis Ortiz, they already opened. They said to all the other heavyweights, not named Wilder, if you think you can beat us, then jump in the ring with us. So I look forward to Dillian Whyte's next fight being Luis Ortiz. That's a great fight. So I hopefully Eddie, if he makes it, if he beats Maris Weck, then I hope that's the next fight, because this has to happen to settle the score. Luis Ortiz, he was doing great. He was looking sharp. One punch ended him. So I would love to see that fight. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. New media. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.